Good morning, everyone. Welcome back once again to our elementary writing class. I am Miss Andrews, and I am pleased as ever to have each and every one of you with me today. Thanks so much for showing up and being ready to dive into a little bit more literary analysis on paper. I have been chuckling this morning looking at all of your chats in the chat box because one of you reminded me of something I had forgotten, which is that I'm so desperate for my coffee of a morning that once upon a time I made my coffee using a napkin as a coffee filter because we were out of coffee filters and I was desperate. That is hilarious, and I forgot that I had done that. So whoever it was who reminded me of that, thanks for the chuckle this morning. When Miss Andrews doesn't have her coffee, the class doesn't go well, but don't worry, today I came prepared. So I'm sure the class will be delightful. I will be delightful. If I have one more sip, we'll be ready to go. Ah, yes, much better. I hope you all have hot and cozy drinks to get you through this class this morning. This is our 20th class together. Can you believe that? We've met 20 times this year. It's pretty crazy. I'm starting to look ahead to the end of the year and thinking about some projects that we might be working on. We might get to compile a thing or two to have something to show for our year together. We're going to have a couple more creative assignments before the year's up. So keep that in mind. Last time we talked about poetry. This next time might be a little more focused on creative writing, like short stories, like character sketches, things like that. We're not quite to that creative block just yet, but don't worry, there's another creative block coming. So hopefully that will help you stay attentive through our analysis exercises today. It might be a little bit dry at times to talk about literary analysis because there's lots of attention to detail necessary in order to construct strong sentences and strong paragraphs. We're thinking a lot about structure and about even the structure of a sentence, right? Expressing ourselves clearly is a lot easier to talk about than it is to do. But I'm really proud of you guys because you've been improving dramatically where this is concerned over the course of this year. And I'm super proud of you. A couple hands have just gone up, and I want to make sure that we don't have any questions about either seeing my screen or seeing my face this morning. Are all the things working appropriately? Or do we have any questions to start the class off? Hannah, go ahead. And you are muted on your side.
When I try and type something in the chat box, it won't work. And also, whenever I raise my hand, and if I press it, then it just goes black, and then I guess that means it's raised hand. I don't know.
Okay, so we're not sure how to raise your hand. Okay, so right now, look at your hand icon right this minute. What does it look like?
There's nothing in it.
There's nothing in it? Okay, to me, it looks like your hand is up. So now hit it again. Okay, now your hand is down, but do you see a hand on your side?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so when you see the hand, that means your hand is down. It's asking you a question. It's saying, do you want to put your hand up? And if you can't see the hand, it's because it's already up.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep. And also, I can't see your face.
You can't see my face? Okay, go to your webcam. There's something called webcam in your control box off to the right of your screen, and you should click Show All Webcams so that you'll be able to see it. It's a setting on your side. Okay, and Hannah, as for your chat box, I can see your comments in the chat box. You have chatted, you said good morning, you said hi, you said hi, Miss Andrews, all those came through, so that's working in the chat box. Once you hit send, it'll disappear, but don't worry, that means it actually did come to me, okay? Make sense? All right, Ephraim, questions?
Oh, I didn't mean to have my hand up.
That's okay, no problem. So that's a good reminder to everybody because we all get confused about that. But when you can't see your hand icon, it means it's already up, okay? The icon is basically asking you a question at all times. Would you like to put your hand up? Would you like to put your hand back down? Like that. It's anticipating what you want, okay? All right, let's dive right in to a quick review of a couple of things. Oh, no, never mind. False start. I have been reading that book on euphonics that I told you guys about last week. Remember, euphonics is the meaning inherent to a sound in a word. It's a very nerdy thing to be interested in. It's a very English majory thing to be interested in, but I'm interested, and you're glad because it means I'm interested in all of your particular sounds that you write about in your paragraphs as well. But I found such a funny thing in the euphonics one this week. This one is just kind of fascinating. Listen to this. It's the long E sound that I'm reading about this week. E. The short E is too common to have individual character, but the long E, drawn out in the cry of E, is a sound of grief and supernatural terror. It puts shiver in the words creepy, weird, eerie, fearsome, feverish dream, evil demon, and it resounds in verbs of distress such as keen, weep, shriek, scream, screech, squeal, plead, and beseech. The following is a travesty with added ease. Listen to this poem that they wrote in order to give us more of a sense of that creepy feeling that goes with the long E sound. Once from dreams of mystic meaning, I awoke to sounds of keening, sounds which seemed to echo from a being with a greenish gleam. Flickering o'er its evil features, scenes of weird and fearful creatures teased my brain. I could but scream. The doctor said, "You'll be all right. Just turn the TV off at night." Do you get it? So something's creepy, something's glowing in the night, and our main character is scared. Turns out it's just the TV. And the doctor says, "Don't worry, you won't have nightmares anymore as long as you turn the TV off at night. It's glowing in the corner and scaring you, just turn it off." I thought that was kind of a hilarious little twist. But mostly, isn't it amazing how much meaning is packed into just the sound of a vowel? It's true of vowels and consonants, actually. Euphonics deals with both. Some sounds lend themselves to particular meanings. So when you write short stories or poetry or creative writing of any kind, sometimes it's helpful to know a little bit about euphonics. You can use it to your own advantage, giving the reader a sense of the atmosphere of your story, right? If you wanted to write a creepy story, the long E sound might be really helpful in words like creepy, weird, eerie, fearsome, right? Isn't that so cool? Maybe I'm the only one who thinks that's cool. It's a little bit nerdy. It's okay. You can think it's nerdy, but I think it's delightful. So anyways, if I ever find ones that I think are really cool, I'll show you because I get a kick out of them. Okay, enough of that. Enough of our little break from literary analysis. Quick review, just as always. Our paragraph looks like a Tootsie Roll, right? It starts out really small at the top where the Tootsie Roll bunches up. And that's our topic sentence or our thesis statement. That is the one sentence summary of whatever's coming in the paragraph, right? It's the point. It's what the author has come to write to us about. Their main argument in one sentence. Okay, so that's the twisted up top of the Tootsie Roll. And then the body of the Tootsie Roll, where all the candy really is, where the fun of it lies, is your supporting sentences, right? So you've got if you're writing a big paper, you've got 3 body paragraphs, right? But in our case, we're just writing microcosm paragraphs. So just 3 sentences of explanation. Can somebody remind me, what is a good supporting sentence look like? What's the supporting sentence supposed to do? And you guys should know this like the back of your hand now because you just did it for a whole week. You created them yourself, right? Let's see, Stephen, go ahead. Tell me about supporting sentences.
Should be specific, orderly, relevant, and efficient.
Excellent. Okay, specific, orderly, relevant, and efficient. Tell me about specific. What do we mean by that?
Stay on point and don't. Well, no, that's all right. Be specific. Don't just be general and kind of be specific about what you're saying.
Okay, so attention to word choice. Be careful which words you choose. Make sure they're the ones you exactly mean. That's definitely true. There's another element to specific, though, that I'm going to focus in on at one point today in class. Specific having to do with not telling the whole story over again, but only choosing those moments that relate to your topic sentence, right? You've got a specific goal in mind, hopefully, with your topic sentence. And the temptation when you go to a scene in the story to prove that point is to retell the whole story. And we want to strike a good balance between summarizing the scene so our readers know what scene we're talking about and not going overboard and retelling the whole novel, right? So that's kind of what we.
Sorry, Miss Andrews.
Yeah, no, that was excellent. That was perfect. What else?
Well, relevant, maybe you should call on somebody else, or do you think I should?
No, I think you're doing great. You should keep going. What about relevant?
Well, I guess stay on topic, I suppose.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Stay on topic. So, in other words, don't give me tons. If we have an image, right, that we think of where we got sore from, an image of a staircase. Do you guys remember that? If we think of our supporting sentences like stairs in a staircase, there are a couple things that we expect from a staircase. And just go with me here. Go with this image. Imagine that you have a staircase made of individual stairs, right? And the stairs don't actually line up with each other. The stairs there's one stair right here, but then there's another stair way over here, and then there's another stair down here, and then another one way up here, but none of them are in line with each other, and they're not close enough that you could walk from one to the other, right? Is that a helpful staircase? Is that useful? Not so much, right? What about this? What if all of them are lined up, but they go on and on and on, and there's no end to the staircase? You never have arrived at the top of the staircase. You'd give up and just sit down in the middle of it and go to sleep, right? You'd be too tired. Okay, both of those images, keep those in your mind in relation to the relevancy of your supports. It's the same with a support. If your support is not directly relevant or pertinent or connected to your topic sentence, then it's a little bit like a stair that doesn't fit in the staircase. It doesn't prop up your point. It's just taking up space in your paragraph and distracting your reader, right? So we want to make sure that all of our supports are directly connected to the topic sentence so that they're like stairs, one on top of another that build to a logical conclusion. And there aren't too many of them to exhaust us, right? Just three or four in a given paragraph. Okay, excellent. Stephen, great job. Awesome. So that was specific and relevant, but we still have O and E. What do the O and E stand for, everyone? Who else can help us out here, defining our terms? We have our acronym that we're working on, SOAR. Continuing with that staircase analogy, when you get to the top of a staircase, you are sore, right? If it's too long up a staircase. So we have our S and our R, but what about the O and the E? Madeline, can you help us out?
Just listen. Somebody else. O is for orderly, and that you need to keep your topics in order.
Okay, what kind of order? What do we mean in order?
Chronological order.
Chronological order. Okay, so chronology, order of appearance, right? Order of appearance in what?
In the book.
In the book. Excellent. Okay, so it's best if you have 3 different scenes that you're talking about from the story that you talk about them in order of appearance. So from the beginning of the book to the end of the book, right? Excellent. And that's just kind of an organizational principle. It's helpful to lay them out that way so that your reader can follow really easily. Nice job, Madeline. Thank you. Okay, last one. What about the E? The E in SOAR stands for what, Thomas?
The E?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, why are we going all the way to the end now? Or did I?
Shotgunning. Madeline did O for us, and E we haven't talked about yet, so go ahead.
But isn't it R next?
Stephen already covered R. Stephen did S and R for us. We're kind of out of order.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay, sorry. Well, I'll answer that, but I also have another question.
Okay, answer that first, and then we'll go on to your question.
Okay. Are specific order the
So we've got specific,
relevant. That's it. Like
and what
if
about
you're you are we doing E next? Efficient.
efficient? Okay, what about efficient?
Well, it's kind of, I mean, well, if you have an example of a scene, it should be the proper scene and efficient in helping the readers, or is there something I'm missing?
Yeah, no, that's good. So efficient has to do with the way that you summarize a scene, the way
Oh
that
yeah.
you put things together. So it's one of the things that we say is we want our sentences to be pithy. Do you remember what
Yeah.
pithy means?
Short, but a lot of information.
Yes, exactly. Short, but packed full of information, which means we've got to choose our words really carefully, choosing strong verbs that tell us a lot about the scene, right? Specific verbs. And choosing our adjectives really wisely. If we only have like one adjective for the sentence, it better be really descriptive, right? Those elements are what we're talking about when we think of efficient. One sentence covering a lot of ground, accomplishing a lot in the paragraph. Good job, Thomas. That was excellent. Do you have a question? Go ahead with your question now.
Well, it's kind of two questions, but they are both related to the same thing. Is what we're doing this week adding clinchers? Because if so, I kind of accidentally already wrote one in my paragraph.
Good question. That is a leading question that takes us right on to our next thing, so I appreciate you asking it. Some of you wrote clincher sentences already for our last week's paragraph, and some of you did not. So what we're going to do today is review some paragraphs that you did write this last week and discuss them together. And we're going to talk about what a clincher sentence does. However, each of you have had practice before with writing a clincher sentence. So I think I'm going to hold off and have you write a completely new paragraph for the next week and have clinchers in that one. So if you did write a clincher sentence for your paragraph last week, well done. That was awesome. That was above and beyond the call of duty, as they say. It was more than I asked you for. But if you didn't, don't worry. We're going to review the purpose of a clincher sentence today, and you'll have a chance to write one a little later on. Okay? But we have some other ground to cover in next week's assignment that doesn't necessarily have to do with clincher sentences. Okay? So I hope that answers your question. Good job if you wrote a clincher sentence, and don't worry about it if you didn't. We hadn't gotten to that yet anyway. Okay? All right. In the meantime, great job reviewing the elements of SOAR, everybody. That was awesome. I have great confidence that your supporting sentences will begin to show these elements the more we think about them and work on them. However, let's dive in and look at a couple of things you came up with last week. It is easier to talk about these elements than it is to employ them, as I think we will see when we focus in on these first few. If your paragraph appears on the screen, don't raise your hand to read it. Let's have someone else read it, because oftentimes we can hear the hiccups in a paragraph, the ways that we wish we had edited it a little bit more if someone else reads it out loud. Okay, so if it's your paragraph on the screen, don't raise your hand to read it out loud. Let someone else do it so that you can listen to how it presents itself. Okay, who wants to read paragraph 1 for me? Any volunteers to read paragraph 1? Yeah, Ilyana, can you read it for us? Are you there, Ilyana? Okay, you're unmuted, so you might have trouble with your microphone on your side. Oh, I heard you there for a minute. Are you there? Okay, I'll come back to you, so put your hand back up again when you figure out your mic trouble, okay? In the meantime, how about Gwyneth? Are you there, Gwyneth? All right, I wonder if it's on my side. Let's try one more. Ezra, can I hear you? There you are.
At the beginning of the story, Little Britches, 8-year-old Ralph Moody is irresponsible, insensitive, but he wants to be like his father. And eventually he learns to be truthful, responsible, and open. Ralph steals the chocolate bar and hides it, but when his father catches him, it makes him abundantly clear that he is disappointed because Ralph was dishonest and secretiveness has disappointed him Little Britches was courageous.
Mhm.
When he went to the sheriff and told him that he broke the law and killed a pheasant by accident, Ralph went from dishonest to irresponsible to nature and manly.
Excellent. Ezra, nice job. That was beautiful. Nicely done. I like your pace. I like that you read with comprehension, that you understand what you're saying as you say it out loud. We could all learn a lesson from Ezra. Sometimes I read too quickly and I don't recognize what it means, what I'm reading out loud. But that was really helpful to listen to you read it. I feel like I understood the paragraph better. So nice job. Okay, good things about this paragraph. It's got a great topic sentence. Did you notice that? At the beginning of the story, 8-year-old Ralph Moody is irresponsible and secretive. So we've got, at the beginning, this is how Ralph is. But, right, we've got a hint that a change is coming. He wants to be like his father and eventually learns to be truthful, responsible, and open. So the theme of this paragraph is Ralph starts out one way, but because of events in the story, he becomes another way. He matures. Great job. A lot has been accomplished in just one sentence. Very pithy. Nicely done, whoever this was. Okay, what I want to point out in this paragraph, however, is the supporting sentences, because that's what we worked on this last week specifically. The supports are good in terms of giving evidence for Ralph's transformation, right? We point to 2 episodes, Ralph stealing the chocolate bar, and also Ralph telling the sheriff about the pheasant, right? However, did you guys notice anything about the supports, thinking of SOAR, right? Thinking of specific, orderly, relevant, and efficient. Is there anything that could be improved about the supports in this paragraph? Specifically, thinking of those 2 episodes and when they happen in the story. Did you notice anything as it was being read out loud? Elias, what did you notice?
Well, I was gonna say that there's not that much, it's kind of hard to read, like maybe there's some run-on sentences, and
Okay.
I think that there's not so many tasteful adjectives as, like, maybe, like, I remember in the assignment it said, like, use tasteful adjectives to describe what you're writing about.
Good. So you think there could be a couple more adjectives in there, perhaps. They do have some adverbs, some ly words, which are good. But I really like what you said first. What was your first point, Elias?
That there's run-on sentences.
Run-on sentences. Okay, sometimes it's helpful when creating pithy sentences to make your sentence structure short and concise. Often, if you have a couple long sentences in a row, one short one will break things up nicely and get your reader's attention again. So maybe this paragraph would benefit from something like that. Do you think, Elias?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's a really good observation. So maybe a short sentence in the middle of this paragraph would break things up nicely. I don't think grammatically there's anything wrong with the sentence structure here, but definitely a short sentence breaks things up well sometimes. Okay, but did anybody notice the order of the supports in this paragraph? There was something about the chronology that might not have been just right. For example, when did the chocolate bar episode happen in relation to the pheasant episode? Didn't the pheasant come first? Court, am I wrong about that? When did the pheasant episode happen?
In chapter 17.
Okay.
And the chocolate bar episode is in 18. So yeah, pheasant does come first.
Okay, so that would have been a good thing to notice if you were putting this paragraph together, to make sure that it's chronologically ordered, because it might affect the topic sentence. It might affect the validity or the truthfulness of the thesis statement. If he's growing, if he's becoming more and more responsible, then maybe pheasant to chocolate bar is actually Ralph backsliding, right? He learns to be honest in the pheasant episode, and then he becomes dishonest again in the chocolate bar episode, right? So it kind of reflects the thesis statement. Interesting how that happens. So good to notice from the beginning your order of your supports to make sure you're right about your thesis statement. I think, whoever this was, you are right about your thesis statement. Ralph does learn to be truthful, responsible, and open. It just takes him a while to get there, right? maybe one more episode listed would help you prove your point. So we've got one episode where he learns honesty with the pheasant. We've got another one where he has to be taught it again because he forgets in the chocolate episode. And then maybe one more episode that shows he's learned it and he is honest by the end. See what I mean? That might help with the structure of things. Okay, we got to cook right along because I want to get through a couple more paragraphs. Let's see. I want to see. Oh, yeah. Okay. We talked about specific in particular today, that element of soar, specific, having to do with avoiding plot summary and making sure that those elements that you draw from the text are specific to your topic sentence. Notice as I read this paragraph out loud that this paragraph could use more specificity. It does lend itself to retelling a lot of the story. And perhaps some specific moments could be highlighted without the rest of that plot summary. See if you agree with me as I read this one out loud, okay? Ralph, who notices that his dad is trustworthy at all times, tries to follow his dad's example by apologizing for his mistakes when he lies to his mother, kills the pheasant, and steals the chocolate. Okay, good topic sentence so far, right? In the beginning, Ralph lies to his mother, saying that he has permission to use a horse for a chore. He admits to the lie, and his father tells him that his character is like a house, easily broken down by sinful actions. He says that a man with a broken character is a shame to the face of the earth. In another instance, Ralph accidentally kills a pheasant, and then his father advises him to admit his mistake to the sheriff, since a good man takes responsibility for his mistakes. Finally, Ralph tries to sneak a small sliver of chocolate from the pantry and is discovered by his father, who explains, "If you had asked Mother or me for it, you could have had it without question, but I won't have you being sneaky about things." Okay, now, first and foremost, this is a great paragraph. It's got a nice flow. It's got an order of supports laid out in the topic sentence like a roadmap. Very well done. And then that order is not broken as the supports are laid out just as we were promised, right? All those things are really good. And also, they're connected to the topic sentence. That's excellent. They all have a specific connection. Don't forget, this is why I'm telling you this story. This is why this moment is important. It's because Ralph is growing, right? He's hearing from his father. This is how a good man acts, and he's learning to be that way himself. But notice that last one. Finally, Ralph tries to sneak a small sliver of chocolate from the pantry and is discovered by his father, who explains, "If you'd asked Mother or me for it, you could have had it without question, but I won't have you being sneaky about things." Okay, this is true. This happens in the story, and that's exactly what Father says. It's an accurate representation of the story. However, is there a way that we could find the significant point in that sentence and just say that instead of summarizing the whole scene? Is there a way? Something perhaps like, when Ralph steals a chocolate bar, his father catches him and gives him some advice about what it is to be a good man. A good man must be honest, not sneaky, period. Moving on. Right? All of those things were not only summary, but also driving home the point of the topic sentence. They were thematic in content, right? So it's kind of a hard line to walk between plot summary and thematic analysis. But do you see a little bit of what I'm talking about? You can make less plot summary in that sentence and more thematic analysis, more direct to the topic sentence. Okay? This one's a little hard to get your mind around, so don't worry. We'll probably talk about it a couple times in the weeks to come. But I just wanted to give you a chance to see it, particularly in that last sentence right there. Okay? All right, let's move on. Oh yeah, this is a good one. Okay, this is something we all struggle with, and I want to point it out for just a minute here. Have you guys heard of the passive voice? The passive voice versus the active voice? It's a hard thing to explain, and it's an even harder thing to employ in a paragraph, but I want to try because there's nothing like the passive voice to kill a paragraph. It makes a paragraph sound really boring, even if the paragraph is actually really well put together and super interesting. The passive voice is just the kiss of death. So I want to point it out to you so that you can start hearing it when you use it yourself, okay? All right, let me find a sentence where it's super obvious so I can show you. The one that's highlighted in yellow right this minute, is a run-on sentence. Look how long it goes. When Ralph accidentally traps and kills a pheasant, he first tries to hide it, but eventually decides to tell Father, and then proceeds to justly do what Father told him to do and see the sheriff, who says Ralph has not broken the law, and Ralph learns that he'll be better off if he faces his problems instead of trying to run away from them. Whew. Right? That was a big, long one. Great thoughts would be better in perhaps 3 sentences, not just 1, right? But you guys can recognize a run-on sentence when you see one. Periods are helpful. You should use them. Notice this right here. Here's what I was talking about. He is then seen. Practicing justice, blah, 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 blah. He is then seen. And here again, Ralph is also taught. Ralph is then seen. All right, let me ask you a question. Who is doing the seeing and the teaching in these instances? Who is seeing Ralph? What do you guys think? Highlighted in blue, who is seeing Ralph in that instance? Joshua? Who is seeing Ralph?
Oh, I didn't have my hand up for that, but I was going to say that my birthday is in a few days on Sunday.
We're going to sing happy birthday to you at the end of today, and it's going to be awesome. Oh, yes.
I'll do a little BD on there so I can remember to tell you.
Awesome. Okay, remember to tell me at the end of class, and we'll sing to you. In the meantime, though, who is seeing Ralph in the first sentence? Do we know? Is it obvious in the sentence?
Is it maybe the person who did it, who made this sentence?
Okay, maybe the author of this paragraph. Absolutely. Or maybe the audience, the readers, us. But it's not obvious in the sentence, is it? They're not present in the sentence. Do you notice how they're kind of like a shadowy figure in the background? Mm-hmm. He is then seen, and we kind of have to guess who's seeing him. And the same with teaching. Ralph is also taught fortitude. Taught by whom? Right? The actor doing the work is in the background, and we have to guess about it. It's ambiguous, right? That is the passive voice, where Ralph should be the actor, but instead he's being acted upon. He's receiving an action that comes from some unknown source. That makes the reader second guess what the paragraph's about. It's the kiss of death in terms of clarity. How could we rephrase, for example, that second one, Ralph is also taught fortitude. How could we rephrase so that Ralph is the actor in the sentence? Can we do that? I think we can, without even changing, really, the structure of the rest of the sentence. How can we make Ralph the actor in this second sentence here? Ralph is also taught fortitude when blah, 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 blah. What do you think? How can we make Ralph the actor in that big, long, blue highlighted sentence? Ephraim, any thoughts?
You say Ralph learns fortitude?
Excellent. That would be an easy way to do it, right? Making Ralph in charge of the verb, doing the verb himself, taking out that whole element of who's teaching him, right? Can leave that for another sentence. Very good. That'd be excellent. That'd be an easy way to fix it. Ralph learns fortitude when Father makes the decision to blah, 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 blah. Very good. So the passive voice is not a hard one to fix. It's just a hard one to hear when you're creating your paragraph. It sounds fancier sometimes to say, Ralph is seen to, or Ralph is also taught, etc. But stay away from the fancy. Just make it clear, okay? Nice job. Whoever's paragraph this is, the ideas were excellent. There were just a couple of things that everybody did that were shown really easily in this paragraph. So it was helpful to use it to teach everybody not to do this, right? But the rest of the paragraph is so good. Your ideas were super strong, okay? Just passive voice. Don't use it. Okay. Now, the last step to creating a strong paragraph is the clincher sentence. And so as promised, I want to talk about that for just a minute before we end today. The last step to creating a strong paragraph is having a sentence at the very end that does what? What does a clincher sentence do? We hope. What does a good clincher sentence do? Isabel, what does a good clincher sentence do?
Oh, I didn't know I had my hand up.
That's all right.
But a
Tell me.
clincher sentence, it like ends the sentence.
It ends the sentence. Okay. Does it have any purpose beyond just saying we're done?
It rephrases the first sentence and has the conclusion, I guess.
Yeah, okay. And what's the purpose of a conclusion beyond just tying up the loose ends? It's a tricky question, isn't it? Think about this. When you read a series, like a book series, and you get to the end of the second book of 3 books, how does that second book end, hopefully, to get you to read the third book?
Like with I guess.
What do you think? How would you, if you were writing a series and you wanted people to not stop with book 2 but read book 3, how would you
have another situation at the end that would have to be solved so that they want to go on?
Yeah, something that keeps the reader's attention all the way to the end and makes them think, oh, it's over. It can't be over. I have to know what happens, right? That's kind of a dramatic example of what a clincher sentence should do. Thank you, Isabel. Great thoughts. That's a dramatic example. Obviously, with a paragraph, we do want to be done at the end, but we want to have something interesting to think about all the way to the end. What my mom used to say is that a clincher sentence needs to have a so what in it. What do we mean by that? A so what? Well, some kind of application, right? Some kind of, this is why this paragraph was important. This is why you should care about it. It's why it's interesting. A so what? Why should we read it? So what? Why do we care that Ralph was influenced by his father? What's the so what? Well, it could be whatever you choose. It could be an application to you. Could be, and I too learned about the qualities of a good man by watching Ralph learn from his father. Right? Okay, something like that would be helpful. Some kind of application, some kind of interesting little tidbit, like a cliffhanger right at the end of the paragraph, okay? So all these things are good, you guys. End the paragraph, rephrase the topic sentence. It's supposed to restate the thesis, right? Tie up the loose ends, but also give the reader a so what to think about as they leave. Okay, have you guys ever heard of this concept before, or is this entirely new to you? That the clincher sentence should have a little something interesting to leave your reader with. It makes sense, right? It's the last chance, your last sentence chance to leave your reader with an interesting thought. So don't pass it up. Leave them with a so what, okay? That's what a clincher sentence is all about. Some of you guys already did that this week, and I want to read at least one of those today. Let me see which one I want to read. Hold on, I think I put 2 in here to choose from. And also, you guys, if I don't read all the paragraphs, they're in the class notes and you can go back and read them if you're interested, okay? See if yours are in there. Maybe you'll find one that I didn't read out loud that might have been yours. We just don't have time to read everybody's. Here's one. Okay, notice this paragraph. I want you to pay particular attention to the clincher sentence. In Little Britches, Ralph learns to be a man from his father, who encourages him to make wise decisions, love his family, and persevere in his work. Ralph grows in wisdom when he steals a candy bar, and Father helps him to realize that he should have asked before taking. Father shows Ralph how to protect his family when they're threatened, by water hogs. And when the father hears a loud scream like a mountain lion and goes out to investigate. That sentence needs a little work. I'm not sure what that was about. But listen to the clincher. Father teaches Ralph to be strong-minded in his tasks, such as rounding up the cows to keep them away from the alfalfa. Oh, dang it, you guys, this isn't the paragraph I meant to read. Oh, that's actually a new support, if you'll notice. Not a clincher sentence at all. It's the third support there in that last sentence. Silly Miss Andrews. Oh, well. That actually might be true of that one, too. I didn't even choose the right paragraphs with clinchers, you guys. That was my bad. I got confused there at the end and put the wrong paragraphs in. They're good paragraphs. They just don't emphasize clincher sentences as I hoped that they would. It's all right. We'll come back to it. But hopefully that gives you a new way to think about clincher sentences that you've never thought about before. like a cliffhanger at the end of a novel. Okay? So go away chewing on that this week. You actually aren't going to have a chance to write about that, though, because I'd like to change the topic. I think we have talked the first topic to death. We've learned all we can from it, and I want to give us a new something to chew on this next week, okay? This week is going to be all about conflict. Still about Little Britches, because we haven't discussed our new book yet with everybody, but it's a new topic. So here we go. I'll read it to you. You can present me with your questions, and then I'll let you guys go, because I'm keeping you right up to the time today. Okay, here's the idea for the prompt. There are many episodes in this story, but they all hold together because of unchanging goals of our protagonist, Ralph Moody. Some things he wants that he simply cannot have, and this conflict drives the plot. In order to identify this conflict in the story, I want you to answer 4 questions in complete sentences. So you're going to write me 4 sentences this week, each sentence answering one of these questions. Okay? In order, chronologically. Okay, thing 1, what does Ralph want most? Thing 2, why can't he have it? Thing 3, is the conflict of this story an external one, having to do with circumstances in the physical world? Or is it an internal conflict taking place in his mind and emotions? Is it an external or an internal conflict? And according to your answer to number 3, in number 4, your 4th and last sentence, tell me what category of conflict drives the story. Is it a man versus nature, man versus God, man versus society, or last but not least, man versus himself? Okay? Hopefully these steps lead you to that category, and that category is easy to define by the end of this exercise. Okay? That's what we're going for, is identifying the conflict of the story with a category, just by answering these simple questions. Okay? Any questions about this assignment? This is a little bit of a break from the analysis structure of a paragraph, but it's kind of a setup. You're going to know what you think about the conflict of the story before I have you write a paragraph next week. Okay? So 4 sentences, complete sentences with subject and verb, in answer to these questions. Any thoughts, any things I need to clarify about this assignment before I let you go for today? We will go top down. So Elias, you go first.
So are we supposed to write a whole paragraph?
No, so this is set up for the next paragraph that you're going to do. So this one just answering complete sentences, but don't worry about the paragraph structure for a minute.
So we're just going to write 3 to 4 sentences about the conflict?
Yep, so I just want you to write 1 sentence in answer to each of these questions in order. So you'll have 4 sentences, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they will each be an answer to these questions. Make sense?
All right. Yeah.
So it's kind of predetermined for you how many sentences and what the sentences will be about. So you have all the time in the world to think about the actual ideas. What conflict do you want to focus on? Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of a setup or a preparatory exercise for your paragraph for next week. Okay, so that next week your content is already decided on and you can just write a paragraph and focus on the structure. That's what I'm hoping. Okay? All right, Ephraim, questions?
Oh, I didn't have a question, but while I'm unmuted, don't forget about the birthday.
Okay, yes, I will not forget about the birthday. I usually wait on singing the birthday song until after I end class so that those people who didn't get to come today don't feel sad that they don't get to sing with us if they're listening to the recording, okay? But don't worry, I won't forget. I'll come back to it. Thanks, Ephraim. Emilia, questions?
I was just wondering if when it says is the conflict of the story an external one having to do with the circumstances in the protagonist's physical world or its internal conflict taking place in its mind and emotions, I was just wondering if you could do both or you just have to do one.
Well, I think for the purpose of this assignment, you should choose one that you think is most important, the one that actually drives the story. And it's helpful sometimes to think, okay, what do I think is the climactic moment? What conflict is being resolved in that moment? Okay, maybe that's the most important conflict. It all goes downhill from there, right?
Okay. Thank you.
Sometimes that's helpful. Yeah, no problem. I think you're right. You can have both an external conflict and an internal conflict going on in the story, and that's probably true of Little Britches, but just choose the one that you think is most important for this week. Okay, Hannah and then Isabel. Go ahead, Hannah. And don't forget to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
I sure can.
Does it?
Uh-oh, I think you muted yourself on accident again.
That good?
Yeah, that's better. Repeat your question.
Do you have for this assignment? Will you copy down things that say it's man versus nature from the book, or just think of it yourself?
That is an excellent question, Hannah. You know, for the purpose of the assignment, what I want to see is your thoughts about it. But the only way that you could have thoughts about it is if you've already gone through the process of deciding according to the story itself. So if you take down notes from the story, from specific scenes, that's helpful for your choice. But I want to see what you think. Okay? So you can have notes to yourself, but have you turn in what you think about the story.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yep.
Okay. That's a really good question. Okay, Isabel, go ahead.
I just wanted to say the first sentence that we read was mine.
It was yours? That was excellent. Nicely done.
Yeah, and also, is the next book Miss Frisbee and the Wrath of Nim?
No, the next book is Tuck Everlasting. Unless you were in class 1 and you already have discussed Tuck Everlasting. And then it's Mrs. Frisbee and the Wrath of Nim.
Yeah, because I read that one already too.
Oh, you did? Wow, you're way ahead. That's awesome. Good for you. Yes, we've got Tuck Everlasting and then Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim. Okay, Ivy and then Joshua. Go ahead, Ivy.
I also want to say I've completed Tuck Everlasting, and we're reading it as a family together too.
You are? That's fun. That book reads aloud really well, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. That one's fun. It's fun to do voices for that one too, because there's so many fun characters. Okay, Joshua, go ahead.
In one of the paragraphs, in one of the things, I noticed there was the sentence you highlighted in blue was a run-on sentence, kind of.
Run-on as well?
It looked like that, kind of.
Yep. That paragraph definitely, it had passive voice and run-on sentences. But most all of your paragraphs have those things. So it was a good example of a problem that's common to all. So keep an eye out for it, even in your own writing. Good job, Joshua. All right, 2 more questions, and then I'm going to let you guys go unless you want to stay on the line after we end class and sing happy birthday to someone. Okay, Madeline and then Stephen. Go ahead, Madeline. Are you there, Madeline? Okay, I can't hear you. Chat me in the chat box. It looks like you got microphone trouble today. Stephen, go ahead.
I was just saying, if you want, maybe the people who didn't write clincher sentences, or at least me, if you really want, I can write a clincher sentence for assignment 19 and then still completely write assignment 20.
If you'd like to, that would be great. It's good practice. I'm going to grade you on assignment 20 this next week, though. So write a clincher for yourself for good practice, and we're going to do graded clincher sentences next week.
Okay, sorry. And also never mind.
Okay. Good questions. Good questions this week. All right, if there are no more questions, I'm going to end class for today. If you want to sing happy birthday to, I think it's Joshua, stay on the line and we will all sing together unmuted in a glorious cacophony. But if you need to go, totally understand. Happy reading. Good luck with assignment 20, and I will see you again next week. Thanks for coming, everyone.